Hello, team players. Is your party running into a lot of illusions? Or maybe you just want a character that can see through all different types of deceptions? Well, in today's build, we're going to use magic and perception to do just that. Let's dive in. So, for this build, we're actually going to go with the Galoma ancestry. One thing you do need to keep in mind, though, is that this is a rare ancestry. So, you're going to need to get your GM's permission before playing this character. But for our heritage, we're going to be going with the Aphorite heritage. We're mainly going to be using this ancestry and heritage for our perception. We're going to get our magic a different way. As for today's class, the best one for this is obviously the investigator. And we'll be going with the interrogation methodology. The starting stats for this build should be Strength 10, Dexterity 12, Constitution 10, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 4. And yes, I understand we have really low dex. But this build is pretty mad, and dex is the one we need the least, believe it or not. Because this build is not designed for combat. At least not very much of it. Our first class feat for this build is going to be Known Weaknesses. Unfortunately, I do think that this feat is best in slot when it comes to the investigator. It's literally devise a stratagem plus recall knowledge, and if you succeed, you get a +1 to hit. And you can also give your allies this bonus. I know I just said that this build wasn't built for combat, but this will help us help other allies who are built for combat. And, sometimes we won't be able to avoid combat. As for our first level ancestry feat, we're going to take Pierce the Darkness. Galomas don't inherently get dark vision, and we definitely need that. No question. You could also take Lemma of Vision here, which basically does the same thing. If you want dark vision right away, take Pierce the Darkness. Otherwise, take Lemma of Vision. For second level, longtime watchers of the channel will know that there's a pretty good chance I'm always going to take feats that have the word shared in them. So, meet Shared Stratagem. So if we hit a creature that we use to devise a stratagem on, we can choose one ally. That creature is off guard against that creature's next attack. As long as, of course, that attack happens before the start of your next turn. Moving on to the free archetype, we've got the Wizard dedication. I know in most cases the Witch archetype is actually better, but in this case it is very important that we go Wizard and not Witch. We'll talk about why when I get to level 4. For level 3, we're going to pick up our general feats. And of course, longtime watchers of the channel will know the 3 feats I always take. Die Hard, Toughness, and Canny Acumen, this time for our Fortitude save. And for our last 2, you're going to want to take Expeditious Search, and then either Incredible Scout or True Perception. What you take here will ultimately depend on what your 17th level Ancestry feat is. Moving on to 4th, this build is called the Lie Detector, so what better feat to take than one called Lie Detector? You gain a +1 bonus to perception checks to sense motive and perception DCs against foes attempting to lie to you. Also, when you find out that someone's lying to you, you can use their deceit to your advantage. This gives you a +1 bonus to your next charisma-based skill check you attempt within the next minute against the target. Now, remember how I said that it was very important that we go Wizard and not Witch here? Well, the reason is we want to take Arcane School spell for the focus spell of the Divination School, which is Diviner's Sight. So we can target a willing living creature, and we can roll a d20. The target can use that roll instead of what they normally roll for any non-secret saving throw or skill check. But more importantly, we can also reveal the result for a secret check that the target makes during the duration. Like say, I don't know, how about the secret check for sense motive? Because remember, we can cast this on ourselves too, because it's any willing living creature. And for our 5th level Ancestry feat, we're going to be taking Watchful Gaze. This prevents us from being flanked, but more importantly, it allows us to see in all directions for a round so we don't miss stuff. For Teamwork Report number 2, sadly, using magic to see through illusions is not something we can do yet. However, what we can do is pretty easily see through mundane lies, especially with our pointed question action. And don't forget, we also get the no cost for alarm skill feat, allowing us to reduce the frightened condition on our allies. And obviously this build has some combat potential, but it's really designed for out of combat. But if you do run into a combat situation, obviously you're going to want to use ranged weapons here, and you're going to want to use devise a stratagem on pretty much every attack roll. And of course, recall knowledge is every investigator's bread and butter, so of course you're going to want to use that as well, especially with that known weaknesses feat. This build is also going to have high perception, so it is going to be difficult for enemies to sneak up on the party as well. And finally, this build will get better at surviving combat as we level up, since we will be upping our dexterity every time we get ability score increases. Okay, at level 6, we'll take thorough research, making us even better at recall knowledge checks. And then we can finally start seeing through illusions with basic wizard spellcasting. Now we can start taking 1st and 2nd level divination spells. At level 8, it's time for whodunit. This allows us to get truthful answers out of the GM, and not just NPCs. Although we can't use it more than once on the same lead, even across multiple days. But since this build is all about finding the truth, this seemed like a perfect feat to take for this. Next we'll take our second dedication, the Overwatch dedication. The dedication itself won't really help us in anything except combat, but it will give our allies a bonus on their initiative rolls if they use perception. However, other Overwatch feats will help us out outside of combat. For our level 9 ancestry feat, we're going to be taking Analyze Information. That'll give us hypercognition as a once per day divine innate spell, allowing us to do multiple recall knowledge checks out of combat. And in combat if we want. At level 10, we'll be taking Just One More Thing. This allows us to reroll a failed feint, request, or demoralized check, and if the target is the subject of a lead we're pursuing, we double the bonus from our pursue a lead. And we're also going to need spyglass modification at this level, allowing us to see what's coming up around corners. Next up we have Foresee Danger. This is a reaction that makes one creature per turn target our perception DC instead of our AC. And our perception DC is going to be way higher. So this is just another way to stay up if we run into combat. Then of course, Expert Wizard Spellcasting will give us even more divination spells. For our level 13 Ancestry feat, we're going to be taking Impose Order. This essentially gives us the Assurance feat as a reaction whenever we would critically fail a skill check. We can also use this to cancel out a misfortune effect, but honestly, more often than not, we're going to use this for critically failing skill checks. Then Sense the Unseen will make it even harder for enemies to sneak up on the party. And Control Tower will make that near impossible. At level 16, Didactic Strike will allow us to use Shared Stratagem on up to 10 allies and allow them to do extra precision damage if they hit. Then we've got Wide Overwatch, allowing us to increase our Overwatch field to 60 feet instead of 30, thus allowing us to more easily use our feats from the Overwatch archetype. For your level 17 Ancestry feat, you can pretty much take what you want here. However, if you're not going to take True Perception at level 19, you're going to want to take True Gaze here, because once per hour, True Seeing is pretty nice. And this is available at level 17 rather than level 19. So basically, if you want True Seeing earlier, take True Gaze. Otherwise, if you can wait on it till level 19, then you're going to want to take True Perception and take something else here. At level 18, you're going to want to take Reconstruct the Scene. This allows us to find out the truth even if a creature has already left the scene. So even if we can't interrogate someone, we can still find out something. And of course, we can't forget about Master Wizard Spellcasting for even more divination. And finally, for level 20, we'll take Just the Facts. This just makes us even better at recalling knowledge. In fact, with this feat, we can guarantee we won't get false information, and neither will our allies, and we'll get the correct information more often than not. And the last feat for this belt can pretty much be anything. There really isn't a great feat for 20th level on the free archetype side that we can take that will really help this belt. So yeah, pretty much anything. For teamwork report number 2, now that we have a bunch of divination spells, we can 100% see through illusions, especially once we get that true seeing. We can very easily see hidden creatures, as long as we seek, and we can allow our allies to see those hidden creatures as well. But all this isn't as important as being able to find out the truth even if we don't have a creature to question. We can also definitely go into combat more now that we're at this high of level. However, we're still going to want to use ranged weapons because our strength is not good. So even if we did use strength, we wouldn't get any bonus damage. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, and don't forget to check out the description below for my Patreon page, as well as my other links. If you want to learn more about the Overwatch archetype, you can check out this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, teamwork is vital.